Over the past few months, I've been working on an old Windows 98 computer, trying to set up a retro gaming PC. And one of the things I decided to do was create a Quake desktop theme for Windows 98. While I was making the screensaver, I discovered some very fascinating code used when creating screensavers that I wanted to share with you today, including some very difficult to find code that I wish to preserve for future endeavors. Before starting, I would like to clarify that this code was written in Visual Basic 6, so please keep that in mind. Also, this will not be a programming tutorial, rather this will be a showcase of code I've already written to help others who may need or want it in the future. To start off, I'm going to explain the basics of how a screensaver works, as well as what its purpose and usage are. At its core, a screensaver is a program that automatically runs after a predetermined period of computer inactivity for the purpose of preventing screen burn on old CRT monitors. Because of this, it's important to remember that whatever screensaver you make needs to have 4 important features. 1. No purely static colors, with the exclusion of pure black. 2. A hidden mouse cursor. 3. It must be a full screen application. And 4. It must shut off once the computer detects input from the mouse or keyboard. If I run this program now, you'll notice that it meets each of the requirements. There are no static colors. The only color that is static moves across the screen constantly. It is a full screen application, and you can't see my mouse cursor. Once I move the mouse, the application shuts down. If you look through my Form 1 code, you'll notice that there are 2 important functions, Form key press and Form mouse move. These set showCursor to true, and then end the program. ShowCursor is a function that is imported from the user32 library, and it is important to remember that for every time that you set showCursor to false, you have to also set it to true, and vice versa. Failure to do this could lead to the mouse cursor being invisible once the screensaver ends. Also note that within the form mouse movement function, there is a counter that increases by 1 for every mouse movement detected, and that until 5 mouse movements are detected, the program will not end. This is because when Windows launches a screensaver, there are times when it will fire mouse movement commands. Thus, you need a buffer to make sure that the screensaver will not end the moment it starts. Finally, please notice that all code within the key press and mouse move functions of the form are also in the key press and mouse move functions of the picture box. This is because when a screensaver is running, any mouse movements detected within the bounds of the picture box will only be detected by the picture box, not the form. This is true for all objects that take up space within the form. Next, we are going to look at Module 1. To create a module, you go to Project, Add Module. For the purposes of creating a screensaver, you will also want to go to Project, Settings, Startup Object, and select Submain. Then, within Module 1, you will want to create the submain function. The first thing you will probably notice within Module 1 is that there are several constants, a struct, and several functions imported from the user32 library. These will be important later, and I will provide them within the description. Notice that within submain, I'm calling the function checkCommandLine, which is where most of the code within this module is written. This is because when a screensaver is launched by Windows, it can also be sent a command line argument. Command line arguments are parameters that are added to the end of commands to change how the command behaves. For example, in command prompt, if I type the command dir, you'll notice that all of the file names were listed too quickly for me to actually be able to read any of them. However, if I type dir/p, once the command prompt is filled up, it stops listing any more file names, allowing me to read each and every file name within the folder. /p is known as a command line argument. When Windows starts a screensaver, it can send one of 3 arguments. We use Module 1 to decide what the program does when it receives an argument. These arguments are /s, /c, and /p. The /s command starts the screensaver normally. Also notice that we change the application title and check to see if another instance of the application with that title is currently running. This is because Windows will constantly try to open a new instance of the screensaver when the inactivity period has passed, And, with the exclusion of the preview window in display properties, we must prevent more than one instance of the screensaver from running at a time. The /c argument opens the settings menu of your screensaver. As you can see, this screensaver does not have a settings menu and instead is programmed to open a dialog box containing an error message. According to the Windows SDK documentation, having no command line argument or launching the screensaver from the file will also show the program's settings dialog box. However, I have yet to see a developer implement it this way. Instead, no command line argument usually either moves the .scr file to the Windows System folder or runs the screensaver normally. The /p argument is probably the most complicated argument to implement. This is because very little documentation is available on how to properly program it. This argument causes the preview of the screensaver to display within the Display Properties window. Because the code was so difficult to find, I will now provide a detailed explanation on how this code works. This code, as well as the aforementioned declarations, will be provided in the video description. When the /p argument is sent by Windows, it also sends what's called a Windows Handler ID, or hWnd for short. This is the handler ID of the Display Properties preview window, and I will call this ID the parent handler for the rest of this video. First, we must store the parent handler into a long variable. We then create an instance of the rectangle structure and pass both the long variable and the rectangle structure to the variable GetClientRect. This stores the dimensions of the preview window into the rectangle instance. Next, we create a variable to store the handler ID of the screensaver, and then use the function setWindowLong to change the value of the property GWLStyle to the constant value WSChild. This sets the screensaver window to be a child of another window. We then set the parent of the screensaver window to the parent handler, and then we change the value of the property GWLEXStyle to the constant GWLHWnd parent. This will allow the screensaver to properly display within the preview window. Finally, we set the dimensions and the position of the screensaver within the preview window. We show the form, and then we change the app title to mark it as the preview instance. One important thing to note about the preview window is that it does not change any properties about the form that is displayed. This means that the screensaver will not be resized, and it will still shut off if your mouse moves over it. Because of this, you must personally reprogram your screensaver to function properly when it acts as a preview. Finally, to use your screensaver, you must compile the program by going to File, Make Project.exe, press OK, and then once it's done compiling, locate the .exe file in the project folder and rename it to .scr. Next, find the folder Windows/System in the C drive and copy the .src file into that folder. Once you've done that, you will then be able to find your screensaver in the drop-down menu in Display Properties. Finally, I'd like to show you one last thing about screensavers built in Visual Basic 6, and that is if I switch over to Windows 10, notice that the screensaver is available in the Windows 10 screensaver menu and runs perfectly fine within Windows 10. In fact, any screensaver made in Visual Basic 6 will run on any version of Windows from Windows 98 to Windows 10. If you would like to use the Quake theme I created on your Windows 98 computer or virtual machine, I will provide a download in the description. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.